Howdy folks, Greyhawk4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. It is that time where we get caught up on the D&D game that we play here in the tavern. So if you're not quite caught up, go back, watch some of the other videos, try and get yourself up to speed, and we continue. So before I get started though, please click like, subscribe, hit the bell, the whole bit. I have started to, it looks like, grow the channel a little bit. Been getting some more subscribers, more views, etc. So let's keep the ball rolling there. Your support is appreciated. Link below for merch. So, okay. So, where we had left off before, our group of heroes was traveling down south in the world of Greyhawk towards a town called Middleburg, where they had been dispatched basically by the head of the Thieves Guild of Devers, Dorian Lightfoot, my old player character, whose his wife in game had been abducted a couple of in game time a couple of years back. She was last seen during a giant raid on the town of Middleburg, and she was taken by the giants for some reason. She was seen alive and abducted, and that's all that he knows. And our heroes, up until this point, he just didn't think that our heroes were strong enough to, make the attack on the giants to try and see if she's still alive and retrieve her, etc. But now he believes that they have gotten to that level of prowess, for lack of a better term, and he has sent them with renewed urgency down there to try and retrieve his wife, Marissa. So they were on their way. They were traveling. It was quite a long distance, so they had done several days of travel. They actually had an encounter with a copper dragon, which was in the previous video. And that went well because copper dragons are a good lineman. And they played it correctly. It went well. And that's kind of where we stopped off. So, we started up last night, and they continued their journey. Now, along the way, they wanted to stop in the elven city of Erstad, which is in the kingdom of Selene, which is the elven area, where two of our characters from previous adventures had been knighted. Matter of fact, they had rescued a couple of nobles from the Temple of Elemental Evil, and then they went back at some point to Selene and were knighted for rescuing them. So now they're returning, these two people, and then we have our new characters which are joining them, and they go to Selene. But along the way, something happened. So they're going along, and one of our characters, our druid ranger, he has a hippogriff, and he's able to ride around up above while everybody's traveling down below and kind of scout and see, make sure nothing is coming at them, etc., any threats or anything. And he sees up ahead on the road, he sees a horse-drawn cart, a horse-drawn wagon, I should say, coming their direction with two occupants, it looks like, and which appears to be an older woman and a younger, able-bodied man driving the wagon. So he goes back and he tells the group, hey, there's a wagon coming, we want to wait and check it out or whatever. So the wagon gets there, and they do the whole whoa, and the driver, of course, he's got his hand on his sword because he doesn't know who this is, on this hippogriff and all this, and he's looking concerned, and he's like, hey, are we good? Are we friendly? We come in peace. You come in peace, And so the bottom line is they do some dialogue, and turns out that these folks are saying that they're from a neighboring town, well, not necessarily neighboring, but in that same southern area, called Loftwick. And it has also been raided by giants, and they've decided that's it. They can't take it anymore. They're leaving. They're going to go to the big city of Greyhawk to try and restart their lives there. This is the older woman, and then it's her grandson that is the one driving. That's the only members of their family that are survivors. And they explain that the grandmother says that she's a baker and that they had a little bakery, but it's been destroyed. And so now they're just trying to make it to Greyhawk, and she is making campfire scones and biscuits and that kind of stuff along the way to sell, to try and keep them, to the point where they can make it there, get enough little bit of money to, to buy the things that they need till they can get to Greyhawk. And she said, I happen to have some scones that I made just this morning on the campfire, and she asked if they wanted it, and they were like, yeah, sure, no problem. And they even offered to pay handsomely. They give them like 5 gold, which is a lot of money, for a thing of scones. And they eat them and all this. And so then they basically say, hey, well, don't go to Greyhawk, go to Devers. You'll be better served if you go to Devers. It's not quite as big a town, but you can talk to Oak there, the owner of the tavern, and he might be able to set you up with some way of selling your wares, etc. So they decide, okay, thank you very much, and off they go. So the heroes continue on to Selene, to Erstad in Selene, and at some point they start not feeling well. All except for the gnome illusionist, who did not eat any of the scones. Everybody else starts feeling ill, and they all have to make saving throws versus poison. I think everybody but one person failed. The one ranger, Russ, he made his saving throw. Everybody else failed, and the gnome, of course, didn't have to make one because he didn't eat any. So our druid ranger decides, oh, well, I got to do neutralized poison. He does neutralized poison on himself. But the other two that are also sick, one of which is the cleric, does not have neutralized poison prepared. So the druid resorts to, there's an Keogigs or something like that, a magic ointment or something like that, which does neutralize poison on contact. He only has 4 doses of it, and he has to use 2 of them on them. So now he's burned 2 uses. But they pretty much figure out, holy shit, we were poisoned by those goddamn scones. So they decide, they've got the hippogriff, and then our little gnome illusionist, he has a magical mount. It's a magic item that allows him to ride on this mechanical bee thing or whatever. I forget the name of that one. But so they are able to chase back down the people that poisoned them, because they can fly. And so they go back on the road, and sure enough, they see the wagon down below, and it's now going like at full speed. And it's kind of, I played it kind of like like when there's a police chase, and they're in pursuit, and the bad guys decide to just bail out while the vehicle's still running, or still rolling, and they just jump out and try and make a run for it, So I kind of did it like that, where I said, well, these two look up and they see you, coming, and they're like going like gangbusters, and they just decide to ditch it, and they just jump off in opposite directions while the wagon keeps going. And I go, they jump off and head into the tree lines and stuff, and they, you don't see them, they vanish, they kind of vanish. So they land and everything, and the bottom line is they're able to, the one guy fails his, the one assassin fails his hide in shadows or whatever, and he can kind of be made out. And so they have a rope of entanglement, and they're able to snare him with a rope of entanglement. The other one, though, he successfully is able to attack from behind and everything. So there's a battle going on there. The one guy's the one assassin's ensnared by the rope, but the other one, they're fighting with him and everything. But at some point, the cleric casts whole person and holds him. So now they're both contained. And of course, they do the whole questioning thing and all that. Who are you? Why did you try? By the way, the one that was the old woman doesn't look like an old. It's a dude now. So he was obviously in disguise. The assassin was obviously disguised as an old woman. And So neither one of them are talking or whatever, and so they yeet them. They just kill them. They're just like, we're done. We're not gonna, if you don't want to tell us anything, they're done. They dispatch them, and so then they search them, and they find on one of them. I tell them that they find this little belt pouch thing. So I had prepared this in advance, of course, with some props. I had a note. This is not the note. One of the player characters, I think he took the note with him. But it was on parchment paper like this that I had written. And it was inside the bag around this vial. Now, I don't know if you can see the stuff that's in there, but I put some black powder in there. Some black, like sand type stuff to represent something. And then in the note, it said something to the effect of initial CN. They are headed for Middleburg. Stop them. Signed ZS. Initial ZS. And then like on the side, it says, by the way, you've already been paid! Exclamation point. Like, get this shit done, type of a thing. Now on the other side, it looks like it has, because it's been folded, it looks like there's been additional notes put on there that says the assassin's name, one of the assassins' name, hey, this is your job. I'm giving you this job. Use this. And it was wrapped around this little vial, which is obviously the poison. And then it said, take Faffle with you, the other assassin, whose name was Faffle. Take him with you or whatever. Anyway, so that's what the note said. Basically, it was a note from somebody to CN, whoever that is, saying, hey, they're headed for Middleburg, take care of them. And then he basically delegates it down to these guys along with the poison and says, hey, use this to take care of them and get it done, But along with that in there, I had put some, just some prop gold pieces and a gem, which is obviously blue sapphire, and the assumption is that is the payment, for them getting this job done or whatever. So that I like to use props once in a while, so I had that for them to actually open it and discover the note and everything else. So they don't know what the hell's going on now. So they decide, okay, we're going to continue back to Erstad in Selene and see if we can figure out what's going on. And they make it back there. They talk to the elves there about trying to get some additional gear that will help them in the battle against the giants, Cloak of Elvenkind, and they explain to them, no, it's very, very rare. We can, the Mage College could provide that stuff. It's extremely difficult to make. It's extremely rare. And bottom line, they say, we'll see what we can do. And it comes back that, well, if you guys, it could be a reward if you guys do something noteworthy enough to garner a reward. We could perhaps do something, but we're not just going to give it to you preemptively, So they have a magic mirror that they had gotten out of the Temple of Elemental Evil that back in town, the magic user at the Mage, in Devers, at the Mage Tower, who's a friend of theirs, he has that mirror there which allows him to scry twice a week with the party. And they basically give him the note through the mirror. They can pass items through the magic mirror too, and say, hey, can you find out what's going on with this, whoever, what is this? Why are there somebody trying to kill us, etc. And so they leave it at that, and then they start heading back towards Middleburg. They make it to Middleburg, and along the way, they did have a random encounter with, I think it was 13 ogres. And when there's a group of 11 or more ogres in first edition AD&D on a random encounter, if there's 11 or more, there's automatically a leader, which is much more powerful with the group. So proper use of a fireball and quite a bit of combat, they end up dispatching this whole group of ogres. They did not lose a party member, although one person was way down to 2 hit points or something like that. But it was a pretty badass battle. But then they make it to Middleburg. Middleburg is pretty much destroyed from the giant raids. The buildings that are standing have been damaged by boulders, etc., or fire, or both. And there is a little table just set up where there used to be a tavern or an inn, and there's just two scared-looking people sitting there with like a keg on a stool next to them and some tankards. And they approach them, and it is explained by these two people that there's not much left. There's some people sifting through wreckage trying to find items and stuff. And they explain that they have been hiding. When the giants come, they just go down into the cellar because the giants can't fit down there. So they're safe down there as long as they get down there soon enough when they know the giants are coming. And they've basically decided that they're trying to sell what ale that they have to anybody that'll buy it. And the only reason they haven't left yet is they keep hoping that what the last giant raid is indeed the last one, and there won't be any more, and maybe they could rebuild. But they're becoming more and more discouraged because every time they think it's the last one, then the giants come back. So they explain all this, and then they say, well, there is a scout who is in town who has survived, and he can tell you where the giant camp, where their structure is and everything. So they explain his name is Sam, but he's not here. We don't know where he's at. And so the guy our one druid gets on the hippogriff and just goes up and starts looking for him on the hippogriff. And sure enough, he finds him off, a ways away. And basically explains, oh yeah, we're here to try and deal with this giant issue. And Sam's like, well, I can give you guys a map of how to get there. And I can even show you a little cave that I've got set up. I've got it concealed, but you could maybe use that as a safe haven. If you had to retreat or something, that cave is safe because the opening again is not big enough for the giants to get into. You got to kind of squeeze to get into that cave, And so he takes them there. The way we leave it is he takes them there and says, that's it. That's as far as I'm going. Here's the map. Here's the cave that you can use or whatever. I'm heading back. I want to be, if they return or something like that, I want to be able to get the tavern keepers and everybody down into the basement. Whoever the left survivors are, get them down in there, and so forth. So he takes off, and that's where we stop. We stop with them in the cave resting before their initial attack on the steading of the hill giant chief. Here is the module against the giants that I'm using because this particular, I have two of these actually. I'm trying to do this where there's no glare. I have two of these, and this one's in pretty rough condition. I don't remember where I bought it from, but it's already been marked up and all that stuff. So for me, this is a good play copy. And then, of course, I do have my original, which I keep in plastic or whatever. And that is the original Steading of the Hill Giant Chief, G1. So that's where we left off. Now, I will say this much. They did scry one more time with Esmus, the guy in the Mage Tower that has the mirror. And he came back with the number 2 guy in charge of the Thieves Guild. Dorian Lightfoot is the guild leader of the Thieves Guild Endeavors. Nick Blackloins is the guy second in charge. And he comes on to the mirror so they can see him and says, hey, we might have a little bit of a problem. He goes, I don't know who this CN is that this note was written to. I don't know who these other chuckle fucks are. They were obviously the assassins that failed, that they dispatched. But the ZS that it's initially signed by, I have a bad feeling about that, because Dorian's, again, the leader of the guild, who sent them on this mission to find his wife, his apprentice, her name is Zarina Saffron. And he's like, I don't have it confirmed yet, but if if I don't know anybody else with ZS as initials, he goes, this is sticky because in addition to being Dorian's apprentice, she's also his mistress and has been for the last couple of years since Dorian's wife disappeared, or was abducted, I should say. And so there's motivation there, So that's where I left. They don't know what he doesn't know. Nick doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to approach Dorian about it. He doesn't want to approach her and tip her off. So that's where we left that. So that's kind of a sticky wicket there. So anyway, we're already over 20 minutes. But that kind of gets you guys up to speed on where we are. Next week, we will start out as soon as we start, they can go and attack the giant compound. So that's what we'll do. So anyway, guys, you are caught up, and we will hopefully do some. I might do a live later tonight. I haven't done one in a few days, so maybe we'll do a live tonight. It is Saturday night, so until then, catch you on the flip side.